opportunity, many people will like a second chance at life. And outside the supernatural, science and advancement in medicine provide these opportunity in organ and tissue transplantation. Organ and tissue transplantation dates back to the 1950s, when the world recorded the first successful kidney transplantation. This process has advanced from kidney to different types of organ and tissue transplantations, offering patients battling severe health conditions a second chance at life. Nigeria in recent years experienced cases of criminal exploitation in the name of organ donation and transplantation. The cases were in public domain, and inquest examined ignorance on the part of the victims, moral bankruptcy on the syndicate, as well as adequacy of regulations in the ecosystem. Yes, the adequacy of regulations in organ and tissue transplantation is the focus of our discussion on this edition of Health Options, as we look at the standard guidelines for establishing organ and tissue transplantation in Nigeria. On Nature's Corner today, we will learn about some home remedies to deal with insects and reptiles. I am Salwa Khalil Ibrahim. Welcome. It is said that in an environment without rules or guidelines, abuse and irregularities abound. This was the case with organ and tissue harvesting and transplantation in Nigeria, in spite of the existence of the National Health Act of 2014. Concerned about the ugly trend and in response to the situation, the federal government, through the Ministry of Health and Social Welfare, set up the National Tertiary Health Institutions Standard Committee, which came up with the operating standard and guidelines for organ and tissue transplantation in Nigeria. So, how practical and effective are the rules and regulations? We shall get to find out these and more from our guest shortly. My guest is a professor and consultant in pediatrics and child health at the University of Benin Teaching Hospital. He is also Chairman National Tertiary Health Institutions Standard Committee, Professor Philip Abiodun. He's joining me from Benin via Zoom. Thank you for joining us on Health Options, Prof.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, can you shed more light into what organ transplantation is and what are the most common type of organ and tissue transplantation in Nigeria?
Organ transplantation is the art of carrying an organ from one person to the other. That is, you take parts of an organ or tissue of one person to the other person who needs it. For example, if the kidney of one person is not functioning well, you may take one from one person who is healthy and whose kidneys are healthy and give it to the other person who needs that organ. But there are conditions which you may have to follow. You must be sure that the person who is giving the kidney will not be harmed after removal of that kidney. That is, he's not going to suffer any ailment as a result of removal of that kidney from him.
Okay, before we come to the conditions, Prof, allow me come in there, please. Yes. What are you've been mentioning a kidney, and a lot of people know more of kidney. What other kind of transplantations are there?
Paired organs usually.
Okay.
Like liver, for example, can be transplanted. But also tissue, like the cornea from the eye, can be used for somebody else. We can even take from the bone marrow, or they call stem cells from the bone marrow from one person and inject it into another person because it is in the bone marrow that the blood is built. So if there's problem with the blood of one person, like sickle cell disease, we may take from the bone marrow of one person and give to the other, and then it will multiply. That is, we use organs that can regenerate, like IVF, which we talk of, for women who cannot deliver for one reason or the other, but we can go into details of that. That is organ. So it can be a whole organ where we have paired organs, or part tissue.
We know organ and tissue transplantation, can be a complex procedure which is carried out
It
in
is.
some medical
It is.
facilities across the country. Now, what are the success rates? Do we have professional, manpower, adequate professional manpower and facilities for organ and tissue transplantations in the country? We know it's not that common. How complex are these situations?
It is very complex. A very complex undertaking, and it's not everybody who is allowed or who can do it. And it's only those who are well trained in it that can do it or can be allowed to do it. So it is not just it is complex.
Okay.
That is
How
just the answer to
accessible
that.
and affordable it is?
It is expensive too.
Or
It is
roughly, let's
expensive.
say, how much can you do a transplant in Nigeria?
It varies from one place to the other.
Okay.
At least you talk of millions. So it will also vary from one hospital. I don't want to call any amount because I don't want to say this place is more expensive than the others.
Yeah.
But it is in millions. Not because why is it expensive? It's not just the procedure itself. Taking care of the person who donates, taking care of the person who receives. And that is why it is expensive. Because when you carry one body, one part of an organ from one person to the other, to that person who receives, it is a foreign body. And so a foreign body, the body of that recipient wants to reject it. So we have to continue to give drugs, to give drugs, to give drugs, to give drugs, to make sure that the body does not reject it. So it is not cheap anywhere in the world, even in America, in Britain, everywhere it is not.
Okay. Now, some people's life might depend on this transplant, and when there are people, and then again there are people who are willing to donate, this organ. On the other hand, also there are people who are being exploited to give this organ against their will. We've heard stories. What are the ethical implications of organ and tissue transplantation in Nigeria now?
Guidelines, ethical considerations for the person who is going to perform the operation. We have ethical guidelines for the person who is going to donate. We have ethical guidelines for the person who is going to receive. Now, important aspect is, first of all, for the donor who is going to give. He must be told what are the implications of donating, what will happen to you, but must be assured that his or her life will not be shortened because of that. For the person who is going to donate, there's no commercialization. No money should be given to that person who is going to give to sell any part of his body for another. Money can be given for example, I'm going to give you my kidney. I cannot go to my working place. I need transportation. I need some food or drugs to take care of me after that. Maybe my salary will be low. That type of money can be paid. But it should not be to the extent that somebody wants to exploit it. Besides that, there must be confidentiality. Where it says, no, I don't want the donor to know who is the person, I don't want the recipient to know who gave it. All these ones must be known. Then before we do all that, we must carry out certain tests to make sure the recipient, the person who is receiving, is not going to suffer from infection, let's say, for example, HIV, syphilis, or any other thing. Then we must know that there's no genetic, that is, no family disease in the donor that the recipient is now going to also inherit. So those are areas. Then nobody must be coerced to donate. Nobody should be deceived to donate, and nobody must be in that business of saying, "Oh, I give my eggs to that somebody who cannot have eggs or sperm to make money." That is not allowed. So
Okay.
all these are some of the ethical issues. But we need counselors. An institution can have counselors, just like we do in blood transfusion. For people who say, okay, donate your blood, donate this, donate that, but not for commercial purposes. So it's a lot of work, but you can save people's life. You can make prolong people's life. You can make people happy. You can make people have children who cannot have without you suffering from anything.
Okay. Now, let's take a break here. When we come back, we shall look more at the ethics and guidelines for organ and tissue transplantation in Nigeria. Please join us again.
Kuka that's the name in Hausa.
And that is call it Ose.
In Yoruba.
Ose, Igi Ose.
Okay, so I know it's Kuka.
I am delighted to have you join us on Health Options, the program that not only tracks government policies on health.
The total cholesterol is made up of some components. The high density lipoprotein, which is the good cholesterol, the low density hypoprotein, which is the bad
Cervical cancer, a type of cancer that develops in a woman's cervix.
There were opportunities for women to get screened for both cervical and breast cancer, maybe up to 30,000, but we'll be having figures of 5,000.
Welcome back. You are watching Health Options on the NTA. We have been looking at standards and guidelines for organ and tissue transplantation in Nigeria with Professor Philip Abiodun, who is the chairman, National Tertiary Health Institutions Standards Committee. He's joining us via Zoom. Thanks for staying on the line, Prof.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
In recent times, there were reports of alleged, illegal organ harvesting involving, some medical facility. We also hear of people commercializing their organs. What is going on?
Well, that's the problem. We say where there's no law, there's no sin. But again, when the law is there, ignorance of the law is not an excuse. There's no doubt that there are more people needing organs than we have donors. And therefore, there's also lack of ignorance about who can donate, who can receive, and for what purpose. So because people know that there are more people who need organs that are not donating, people are starting to sell their bodies, to sell part of their bodies, or people are willing to deceive other people to sell part of their bodies, or they use by force. I won't be sure now whether by kidnapping or not, but we've heard about kidnapping where they now come and some organs are missing when they find the dead bodies. But we also hear of students or others who believe, well, I can always produce my eggs every month, and who believe, well, it will not cost me so much. It won't harm me. So let me give my eggs and sell. So it is all a matter of money, 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 money. And there are people who are rich and think they can harass poor ones to donate their organs, even without their knowledge. We've had some people, and that is why we're all involved. That's all.
Okay. So you headed a committee that did an extensive work in coming up with standards and guidelines for establishing and coordinating organ and tissue transplantation services in Nigeria. Tell us a little bit about it, sir.
Yes, our committee, the National Tertiary Health Institution Standards Committee, is mandated by the National Health Act of 2014 to regulate organ donation and organ tissue donation and transplantation. So we set up another subcommittee of experts, people who are vast, knowledgeable in this area, whether it is kidney, liver, cornea, stem cell, to walk through, look at the whole world from their own experience and what the world is doing to write this recommendation, which I'm showing here on guidelines and standards. Furthermore, recommended we are going to set up a registry and a bank for donors for organs that can be kept for some time. Then we want to have lists of people who are desirable, who need it. So as it comes, we give without partiality, depending on so many criteria, it is all there. So that it's just the queue. Then the punishment according to the National Health Act. What is the punishment for somebody who tries to lure, deceive somebody, or who removes the organ of somebody without permission? Even if they use your house to carry out such illegal things, it's punishable. If they use your vehicle to carry somebody without his knowledge, you're also liable. So all these ones is there. And where we need the act, the law, we're also working with the people in the National Assembly to pass laws on like surrogacy, like this and this, what are the criteria. It is a lot of work, but I can assure you it's not only here. The whole world, even in Britain and this, all these ones are being regulated as problems come, pass a law, as this pass law.
Okay. So aside the standards and guidelines, do you think there are adequate laws to back it up, especially in terms of protecting the donors?
That's what I said.
Is it
That
binded
there are some
by the
areas.
law? Okay.
There are some areas that still need to be polished,
Okay.
and we are working on that.
Is it possible for Nigeria to have an organ bank where people who need it can go, apply, follow maybe some guidelines to acquire?
Why not? Why not? Why not? People have it. I mean, down in India, they have. And even though I don't have to let it out yet, we're already in contact with some of these people to see how we set up. We need some training, people to work in the registry. We need some. We are in touch with some of them in the US, in India. We are having group talks, but we have to finalize them. Even want to train more doctors, more nurses, more people to get involved, so that it is a desire. Many people need it, but as I said, the more we do it, the cheaper it will become, and we want to know who really need. In such a registry, we have the list.
All right. All right. Now, what are some of the cultural and religious myths you have heard about organ and tissue transplantation? And what are the facts?
Well, which are the facts? I can't know, but what we hear, is a lot. In developed places, for example, if you die, your corpse in the hospital, unless you say no, autopsy is carried out normally. But the autopsy is not to remove your organ, but to see what you died of. But here, if somebody dies and you touch the body, they say, oh, you don't going to do juju with it. You're going to do this, you're going to do that with it. So these are some of the myths that we want to demystify the whole thing. We want people to know that if you die, it's your soul that all religions, there's no religion that is against it, except maybe I think, land Buddhists that say no, the body must be preserved to allow the soul to arise. But if not, no other religion is against it. You can give to help others to live long. And I don't think there's, so we have to educate our people. So we need advocacy on that
Okay.
for everybody. And that's why I
Okay.
say I thank you for your program, because it helps us to enlighten people. As many people as are listening, they will now know that organ donation is something I can do to help others to live long and nothing will happen to me. Therefore, people to know, if my kidneys are no longer working, it is possible to put another kidney and I will still live longer.
Okay, Professor Philip Abiodun, many thanks for your valuable insight and the work you do, and for taking time to join us on Health Options.
It's a pleasure. My pleasure.
Got stagnant water nearby and concern about insects? Professor Ben Amodis got you covered. Learn how to make natural mosquito repellent on Nature's Corner next.
We want to today look at how we can get local mosquito repellents within the home setting. And a number of them are here displayed. Here we have the red onion, the popular red onion, which we are likely to use the bark, the peels. We peel them and then aggregate them together, put them in a boiling water. We can cover them for a few hours and then filter it, discharge it in a container that has a spraying adapter. And you spray it all around your area. As soon as the mosquitoes smell it, they will run away, very, very far away. Then we have lavender oil, mixing it and dropping it with vanilla oil, 4 drops, and then 1 teaspoon of lime. Mix it, add hot water, discharge it into a container that has a spraying cork. It will do the function of drive. In fact, when they smell it, they will never come near. They talk of even biting. You repel them away. Then we have neem oil. Neem oil has the same effect, the same way that onion oil does. So these are the various types of onion oils that do this work. I have mentioned to you neem oil. I have mentioned to you onion oil. It is mixed with boiling water, and then you filter it and put it in a bottle that has a spraying cork. And once you do that, the mosquitoes react instantly and they will disappear from the area you don't want them. This is vanilla, which we said you add 4 drops when we talked about lavender oil, vanilla, and lime, your own lime, the lime you know, into hot water. And then you just filter whatever off, and then you get the liquid, and you use a sprayer to dispense the liquid around you. Others are lemongrass, which everybody knows. You either plant it and bring it very close to the entrance to your house. As they grow there in their own container, the smell alone keeps the mosquito off. You can also dry it halfway. When you dry it halfway, you can put it in a container, light your light, put light on it. As it's burning, the smoke also drives mosquito. In similar way, scent leaf can be dried halfway the smell you get out of it does the same thing. Mint leaf has some very powerful kind of odor that mosquito cannot stand. Even some people plant them within the house, and once you do that, within that vicinity, you don't find the mosquito. A practical one of it drives both rats, mosquitoes, and cockroaches. You can cut cucumber and put baking soda on its top and scatter it all over in your place. Mosquitoes will run away, cockroaches will run away, rats will just disappear as if they are migrated.
I hope you've been able to learn one or two things from this episode of Health Options. Remember to always play by the rules in everything, as it can save or mar someone's life. Remember to watch these and previous episodes of Health Options and subscribe to our YouTube channel at NTA Networks. We also welcome your comments, questions and suggestions. Thank you for watching and take care of yourself.